Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to be tackling the C# exorcism task known as Leap. It's a easy task, so suitable for beginners, and I will leave a link to the task in the description so you can code along with me. Okay, let's read the instructions of the task. Instructions: given a year, report if it's a leap year. The tricky thing here is that a leap year in the Gregorian calendar occurs on every year that is evenly divisible by 4, except every year that is also evenly divisible by 100, unless the year is also evenly divisible by 400. So I've prepared some notes for this, and before we tackle the coding problem, let's have a look at our notes. Okay, here are the notes I made for the task Leap. As you can see, the way I organize my notes is instructions, information, logical steps, notes, coding steps, and finally the solution. So let's have a look at the instructions one more time. Given a year, report if it is a leap year. Here we have some information. A leap year occurs on every year evenly divisible by 4, except every year that is evenly divisible by 100, unless the year is also evenly divisible by 400. Let's have a look at the logical steps. So these are the steps I defined for this problem. Given a year, we should follow the steps in order. Check to see the year is evenly divisible by 4. If not, return false. And if so, we'll continue to step 2, where we will then check if the year is evenly divisible by 100. If not, return true. If so, continue to step 3. And step 3 is check to see the year is evenly divisible by 400. If not, return false, and if so, return true. I have taken some notes for this. Within our code, how can we determine if a year is evenly divisible by 4 or 100, I could say, or 400? And the way we can do that is we can use the modulo operator. The modulo will essentially return the remainder. Therefore, we can divide year by 4 or 100 or 400, and if there is no remainder, that signifies even division. E.g. 2000 modulo 4 equals 0, meaning 2000 is evenly divisible by 4. I have some coding steps here, and in the coding section, this is a rough idea of how I plan on tackling this problem. So I've taken a note of the method. We have a return type boolean, and the parameter year is an integer, and the method logic is as follows. We'll implement step 1 by using an if statement, and we will modulo by 4. And if we do not receive a 0, we will return false. Else, we will modulo the year by 100, and if we do not receive a 0, we will return true. And then so on in step 3, where we will finally modulo the year by 400, and if we do not receive a 0, we return false. Otherwise, return true. So let's go over to Visual Studio, where I have set up our environment for us. Okay, here we are in Visual Studio, where I have set up the problem exactly how it is set up in the Exercism web editor, complete with the test cases. If you want to know how to set up the test cases, please let me know in the comments and I can do a video on that. So I have devised a solution for this. I'm going to be putting this solution in now. If you want to have a look at the notes I made and come up with a solution yourself, pause the video now, check your solution, and then you can compare it with mine. Okay, so this is the first solution I made. As you can see, it's fairly simple and pretty straightforward. We are dividing year by 4, 100, 400, checking to see if it divides evenly or not, and returning the required logic based on those results. We are just using a step-by-step if statement, and I believe this passes all the tests. So if we run the tests now, we should see what that looks like. And yep, we pass all the tests. So this solution works, and it's fairly fine if you just want to pass the solution. However, I know that we can definitely refactor this solution to be a bit more elegant and a bit more concise, and also read better. It's kind of hard to understand what exactly is happening. The flow of logic is correct, but it's not very clear. Therefore, let's refactor the solution. If you want to refactor it, please pause the video now and refactor it yourself, and then you can compare with my refactored solution. Hello again, this is how I refactored my initial solution. And the way I've refactored it is, instead of checking to see if the years are divisible, evenly divisible by 4, 100 or 400, and moving on, I've simply said return, and this implies true. So return true where year is evenly divisible by 4 and year is not evenly divisible by 100, or year is evenly divisible by 400, in line with the logic we expect for a leap year. And this should still pass the tests. Perfect, this still passes the tests. However, I believe there is one more refactoring that we can do here, and that will just improve the readability for humans. This is the third and final refactor I have done for this solution. As you can see, we follow the same structure that we took in the second solution, where we simply return the year being evenly divisible by 4, and then checking to see whether it's not evenly divisible by 100 or if it is evenly divisible by 400. But in this case, instead of having the logic hard typed out with the calculations and so on, we define those calculations up here in variables, and we make these variables easy to read and understood, and then we use those variables in our logic, and this just reads so much nicer. It's a lot easier to understand. It's a lot easier to understand the flow of logic, and it is also easier to comprehend. The complexity of the problem, whilst the logic is still the same, the complexity of the problem has been reduced because we're not having to infer what is happening. We can see it quite plainly and read it quite clearly. So in this case, we can clearly see that we are returning true, where year is evenly divisible by 4 and it is not evenly divisible by 100, or it is evenly divisible by 400. And this just reads so much easier, it's so much nicer, and it should still pass the tests. Brilliant. And this way, if you had to share this code with somebody else, it wouldn't be as difficult for them to understand what you're trying to achieve or the flow of your logic. Even though this solution still works, we are so far away from this where this was a bit clunky and not so easily understood. Okay, let's put this in Exercism's web editor and see how it fares. Okay, we are now in Exercism's web editor, and let's put in our solution. Perfect. Brilliant. All our tests have passed and we have solved the exercise. And so, although this is quite a simple exercise, it's very beginner friendly. I think it's very valuable because you can come up with quite simple and easy solutions, but there is also quite a bit of room to refactor it and show off your C# skills. And again, I'm going to drop the link in the description. So if you want to tackle this exercise and share your solution, then feel free. That was me solving Exercism's Leap for C#. I hope you learned something. I had a really fun time doing it. Thank you very much.